Tim Ellerton, Global Sponsorship Manager at Heineken International. I'm responsible for our sports properties, namely the Champions League, Rugby World Cup and the European Rugby Champions Cup.
And what are your main targets and objectives at the moment, particularly within rugby?
Well, rugby's a great platform for us to talk to an already very loyal consumer fan base. We've been involved in rugby for 20 years, Rugby World Cup since 1995, and European, what was now known as the Heineken Cup, now the Rugby Champions and Challenge Cup since 1996. So we're already talking to a very loyal fan base. We know that a lot of our consumers are rugby fans. We are a premium brand, and rugby does tend to attract a slightly more premium demographic. And the great thing about rugby, and we're here at an IRB conference, is it is a global game. Third, sometimes fourth, depending on whether there's been a successful Euros or not, biggest sporting event in the world. So we're reaching consumers from Argentina and New Zealand and everything in between with our activities. And this year, of all years, going into 2015, perhaps gives us a better opportunity to do that than ever before.
And obviously 20 years is a long time in sport, it's a long time in sponsorship as well. How have the sort of priorities changed over that period of time, and the way that you go about things changed?
I think it's about moving with the times. Sponsorship in 1995, I wasn't working at Heineken then. It's probably a very different proposition it is today. We need to make sure that we're continually reinventing ourselves in terms of how we talk and how we engage with our consumers, and that we're really part of that conversation that's happening around rugby. This time next year, when we're just finished the Rugby World Cup, you know that during that Rugby World Cup period, Rugby World Cup will be at the centre of top of people's minds. Our target audience will be talking about it with their friends on social media. They'll be watching the games in stadium. They'll be going to the pubs. They'll be watching it on the other side of the world, early in the morning. So we need to make sure that we're creating content, creating activities that allows us to really cut through what is already a quite cluttered sponsorship environment, and actually give something back to the fans that they actually think Heineken is a sponsor that does something for them.
And what are the main challenges that Heineken faces as a brand, as a sponsor within rugby? Is it working the relationship with the tournament organisers? Is it reaching broad demographics of fans? What are the main challenges?
Rugby, it is a global game. Having said that, some of the bigger markets, the China, the Russians of the world, the US of course, Brazil, Mexico, which are where our business is growing. Rugby's still very much emerging there, and the numbers reflect that. So it's important for us as a sponsor that we see the game of rugby grow outside what I would call the traditional rugby markets, the 10 or 12 markets that you associate rugby with the most. That's where our interests lie. We want to see the game grown in those territories, because that's where our core business is.
And obviously, on a European level, Heineken was the title sponsor of the Heineken Cup for a very long time, and is now still a leading sponsor of the European Champions Cup. But obviously that was a huge period of change in European rugby. From a Heineken perspective, what has changed and what is different now?
Obviously, the title of the competition has changed. It was the Heineken Cup, it's now the European Rugby Champions and European Rugby Challenge Cups. But ultimately, the essence of what we're trying to do is exactly the same. We're trying to add to the experience of rugby fans enjoying these European matches. We feel that the tournament, in terms of the quality on the pitch, is exactly the same, and it's a great opportunity for us to talk to our consumers, be that supermarket partners that we work with, the off-premise or our on-premise partners. Going to the game on a Saturday afternoon and watching the game in a pub is nothing changes there. The tournament might change its name, but that ritual is still the same, and it's about our ability to talk to those consumers at a time when they're engaged with the tournament, perhaps more than ever. So the change in name is something that we're used to by now, and we embrace the direction the new tournament's going in. Change happens, it's natural, and we hope it evolves the tournament even further, and we reach a wider group of people over a long period of time.
And obviously, being still the only sponsor at the moment, then obviously more will come further down the line. I presume that the initial outlay is perhaps a little less. So is there a chance that you could get better value from the new tournament?
Time will tell. We research very heavily on the impact of our sponsorship. We don't do anything just for the sake of it. We need to make sure that we're actually cutting through, that we're reaching our target audience, that they are perhaps feeling a closer connection with the Heineken brand through our activities. If we stop doing that, then we know we failed. So it's important that we keep a tab on exactly what we're up to and exactly what the reaction in the marketplace is amongst rugby fans to our activities.
But from your point of view, whether it be Europe or whether it be the Rugby World Cup, rugby as a sport offers a great sponsorship proposition.
Absolutely, rugby and Heineken are almost synonymous. As I said, through our longevity within the game, but also the Heineken brand and rugby itself hold very similar values in terms of credibility and authentic and honesty. So we're proud of that association, and rugby allows us perhaps better than many other platforms to communicate to a very clear target audience that are, as I said at the beginning, loyal Heineken drinkers already.